Donk Nation, Jax and Janet's greetings and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some Steelers talk. And just like Cam Hayward said this week, to all the haters out there, all the doubters out there, screw you, Gingy, another Steelers win. Let's go.
Let's go! 6-3, Donkey. Mutant Gigi in the house. Woo-wee! Another nail biter, though, Donkey. Coming right
That's
down
the
to the final drive.
Steelers way. All right.
Yeah.
Heart
It doesn't
Attack
have
City.
to be this way, does it? Does it have to be this way?
I'd rather this way than the way of just losing them all. So if it's this way or that way, I'd like this way.
Yeah. Okay,
But
Donkey, if you say so. How about an offensive and a defensive performance put together? Is it going to be this week?
Well, I don't know. We got the mistake out of the lake. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But there's some odds and ends we need to cover about this
Here.
Packers game.
Here.
So, but maybe we should talk about numbers, predictions, and stats. Gingy, a loss is followed by 2 wins. That doesn't ring true or ring good for this upcoming week, but it has been the pattern the Steelers have gone. Maybe 400 yards isn't important, and I'll get to that later, Gingy. But all in all, in the Packers game, what did you see that you liked?
Oh, well, there was some good things to be seen from that offense. First of all, coming right out the gate and commanding a 75-yard drive after a touchback there. 9 plays, 75 yards. I love to see that. Great start. And overall, the running game. Donkey, 200 yards overall on the ground. My goodness.
Yeah, that's what's up.
That's what helped. That's what helps get you the W's right there. And I really like how about that first Najee touchdown where when is the last time that we can say that we saw a Steelers running back walk in untouched to the end zone?
Simualu and Broderick Jones moved so many damn people last
Big
week.
hole.
I don't even know what to say. Imagine if they were playing on the same side. It would be scary.
Yeah, those were big holes. And then that Jaylen Warren is such a beautiful runner. That little spin that he's got going that really helps him keep his balance. I like watching him run the football, Donkey.
All right, Zoidie texted me, and there's a specific play. Let me know if you know what he goes. He goes, "Damn, I didn't see that hole." Do you have any idea what play we're talking about, Gingy?
Not specifically, but he has a way of finding in the small crevices.
Jaylen Warren runs into all the big trees, right? And it looks like he's dead in the water. There's like 4 Packers, 4 Steelers, and a big scrum. Next thing you know, Jaylen Warren's out the other side for a 13-yard run. Like, the hell does that happen?
Yeah, sneaky fast, and finishes runs hard.
Hey, he was given the game because Mike Tomlin let him get his name announced as RB1. Whether or not he is, we all know he's still listed as RB2 on the depth chart. But he got announced as a starter, Gingy, and boy, oh boy, he didn't disappoint.
No, he put up 100 yards on the day. That was beautiful, Donkey.
That's for sure. Maybe there is still a disappointment here, and it is the Steelers' aversion or inability to use the middle of the field in the passing game. Gingy, I have a question for you. Do you think the Steelers on offense don't use the middle of the field and don't push the ball down the field as much? And Kenny Pickett makes a lot of safe throws early in the game because the Steelers are honest to God just trying not to turn the ball over because they know that turnover variance is like one of the best predictors on who will win the game.
I honestly think that way that team is built. Bend but don't break on defense, and really don't beat yourself, right?
Yeah.
Let the other team beat themselves. Be the opportunistic team. Don't be the one that's getting taken advantage of.
Be happy with being the ugly girl at the dance is what it seems like, Gingy.
It's not pretty, Donkey, but they're building a team I feel it's built to win in January type football.
Gingy, 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, either pre-Jaguars or post-Jaguars game, I told you I really wanted the Steelers to get an identity out there. Find something they do well, especially on offense. On defense, we know what their identity is. You get to the red zone, we're going to stop you. Everything else we suck at. But red zone defense, hurrah! Yeah. Pound your chest. Wah, all that shit. Do the Steelers have an offensive identity since inserting Broderick Jones in the lineup?
It seems like they're going to try to build around that run game, and he's a pancaker out there. The Broadfather.
I have not heard that, but I do like that one. That was really, really good. And Gingy, I talked about this earlier. There's news that Pat Freiermuth might come back. And I said this to you. I don't think that makes this team better. Hear me out, Gingy. I know Freiermuth's decent at getting open, decent at catching the ball. Darnell Washington runs routes like he's a damn offensive lineman. But if this team's going to be a run-first football team, Darnell Washington has to be the guy getting the majority of the snaps going forward, right?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong in terms of the logic that you're using there. I will say, Donkey, that you said something about having a game in the middle of the field. I think that Freiermuth would
just run a single out there.
That would be the only realistic answer, I think, on that Steelers offense to provide that middle of the field threat. I will say I'm not going to deny you the fact that he's not the best blocking tight end that I've ever seen.
The hell did we bring Allen Robinson in if his old ass isn't going to run over the middle of the field and risk his life for our entertainment, Gingy? Seriously. There, see, left Gingy speechless with that.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I
don't know what
to
to say to that. Wow, you're talking about that. Yeah, I don't know, Donkey. He ain't going to do it. Freiermuth could do. I've seen Freiermuth provide. He is a matchup problem over the middle with a lot of different linebackers, in my opinion.
Fair. I won't argue here or there. I just think that dude's the least clutch player I've ever saw. But speaking of that, there's two players I want to talk about. One from game performance last week. Najee ran the ball pretty well. But Jesus, he cost us a first down, which could have been a critical one, because he tries to hurdle a little cornerback. And instead of just running his ass over and getting the first down, he comes up 2 yards short. We end up not converting and having to punt the ball in an important part of the game, early stages, second half. When the hell is Najee Harris going to realize he's 240 pounds and not 162 pounds? Like, seriously, this dude is the softest big man I've ever seen.
We've talked about this week after week now. I don't know if it's going to come through in terms of how he's going to I don't know, Donkey, but he has a style. You're right. He's built for a style of running that he does not partake in.
No, he runs like he's the size of Jaylen Warren, but Jaylen Warren runs like he's the size of Jerome Bettis. All right, I don't get it. Whatever it is, neither here nor there. Thing going forward here, I want to bring up. I understand Pickens isn't getting used that often, but a thumb injury to Deontay Johnson that occurred last week. Concern for you going forward with, we already know his reputation, let's call it. Does that concern you, missing practice with a thumb injury?
Whoa. What's this reputation that you speak of?
Unforced errors, as you like to say.
Okay. Well, I definitely don't like to see any of our wide receivers with a thumb injury. That's definitely concerning to me, Donkey. We'll see how he can manage it moving forward. I don't know.
Gingy, is it a cause for concern? The Steelers did an okay job pressuring Jordan Love in the first half, but they have this weird tendency of every time the offense scores a touchdown, they give up a touchdown type of deal. But that's not what my concern is. Second half, after injuries happen to middle linebackers, and that's a big concern. We'll talk about that fully. The pass rush against a bunch of backup linemen in Green Bay was non-existent. It has been very, very dismal since the bye week. Does this lack of second half production from the pass rush concern you going forward?
Absolutely. I'd like to see some more consistency there again. I started by saying that I'd like to see a good performance from both units. When the offensive slumped, the defense has scored points and supplemented that. And when when the offense looks consistent, the defense just barely kind of hanging on at the end there. And although
last minute
weeks,
red zone interceptions, Gingy.
I was gonna say
That's all you need.
back weeks with red zone interceptions to walk off. That's pretty cool, but at the same time, not
let them drive
cool.
60 yards to get there.
Yeah, putting yourself in that position and allowing that. TJ is still getting his. I'd like to see more consistent pressure from Highsmith.
Yeah, the money he's getting paid, he needs to be a consistent factor. And I'm not talking about this BS
in the big games
pressure rate they put out there as a stat. I want to see quarterback hits. I want to see sacks. Highsmith is getting quote-unquote pressures, but what the hell's a pressure if you're not hitting the quarterback? Are you really pressuring him? I hate that stat. That stat's garbage. Give me hits. Give me sacks. That's what I want to see. Now, Gingy, I've heard a lot of people complaining that the Steelers don't ever get into victory formation, although we did 3 weeks ago, and we should have this week. Let's not forget, the Steelers get a first down on a possession where they're trying to run the 4-minute offense. That's a good sign right there, getting at least that first down. That made Green Bay have to waste all their timeouts, which would be huge later in the game. And the Steelers actually converted the second one. Kenny Pickett with a beautiful throw to George Pickens, but Calvin Austin, young kid mistake, runs into the DB and gets called for offensive pass interference. Do you think the hate for the offense is just continuing because people don't want it? Because I thought the product the offense put out last week was pretty good and honestly should have won us the football game without the defense having to come up and make another red zone stop.
It's manageable, but still, for what I see out there, I still think it's underperforming, Donkey, to be honest with you. And I think that's what people are most concerned about. I think we have talent that is not necessarily performing always up to not necessarily expectation, but potential.
Fair enough. I hear that. That's a good counter argument to make to it. I think the steps are there, but you're right. If you're saying it's not quite all cylinders, no argument here, but at least we're hitting on a couple cylinders this time.
We're starting to. We're starting to. Tennessee and the game that we played last week against Green Bay was much, much better than what we've seen before. Like, before that, we're starting games with not getting a first down till the end of the second quarter. I remember before, Donkey. That's the problem. That would be a bigger problem.
That surely is. How about little special session here? I've hated on him a lot this year, but the old man, Patrick Peterson, a deflected ball that gets intercepted by Keanu Neal, and the most important play of the game, Gingy, a blocked extra point. How about the play of Patrick Peterson last week? Whatever you want to call it.
Donkey. Wily vet. What he loses in speed, he makes up for in experience, awareness, being able to be in the right place at the right time, and he did it this week. He put himself in the right place at the right time, Donkey.
And now, Gingy, we'd be remiss if before I go into talking about the Browns, we didn't talk about just AFC North injuries that have happened in the past 2-3 weeks. The Steelers losing Cole Holcomb, then the Steelers losing Quan Alexander. The Baltimore Ravens losing Mark Andrews, the Cincinnati Bengals losing Joe Burrow, and the Cleveland Browns losing Deshaun Watson. Which of these injuries is the most important? Because my goodness gracious, is there a plethora of players who were performing at phenomenal levels leaving their team right now?
Well, absolutely. And Donkey, I think that it's a really huge loss for the Steelers in the way that defense. We talk about the way the defense has been playing the last few weeks. Maybe it's because some of these big boys in the middle, these hole pluggers, are missing.
Minka.
You know what I'm saying? Amongst guys like Minka Fitzpatrick as well. But saying that, I think the biggest loss there is probably Joe Burrow. I don't know what the Cincinnati Bengals are going to do now.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Who's even their number two?
The rookie out of Washington, my goodness gracious, I can't think of his name right now, like Browning or something like that. He was the quarterback for Washington last year, led them pretty decently, or Washington State, one of those two. Decently athletic dude, has NFL-ish arm strength, but coming in the middle of the season, it's just hard to build that repertoire. We saw it early season last year, Kenny Pickett. We've seen it plenty of times with other backups. Lucky for them, they get to play the Steelers, and the Steelers against AFC North backups recently has not been the greatest, and we'll get into that. But injuries abound, and honestly, the guy I want to talk about is Mark Andrews for Baltimore, as I feel he really is that middle threat for Baltimore, and with him gone, Lamar losing his safety blanket, Baltimore better start running the ball better than they have recently. Early game, I know third, fourth quarter they've been killing it, but they might start finding themselves in some deficits, which means their pass rush isn't going to be able to get after the other people because they're going to be playing from behind. And the Ravens are not a team that are built to play from behind, Gingy.
No, they need sustained drives, really rely on the run. No, I agree with you. But what I do think is that Lamar is having an excellent season. And if there is a guy that can keep that team afloat by himself, however, in the past, Donkey, when I've seen Lamar try to do everything, that's oftentimes when he ends up
on the injured list for the last 4 games.
Getting a little nick or getting a little bump and it not working out so well, Donkey. So I don't know what's in store for the Ravens, but Mark Andrews is a huge loss for them, yes.
He certainly is. Last thing before we get into the Browns, Gingy, unless you have something else, I'll ask you right after. The Browns' playoff projections increased by losing Deshaun Watson, according to ESPN. You buying that?
No. And I'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough. Gingy, any NFL takes or Steelers takes you want to talk about before we talk about the mistake by the lake?
Still really interesting. Wanted to say I was talking with you about it before the show, actually. Very coincidental last week that I get a specific question about defensive communication because, well, anyone who watched the game, seeing the way that secondary fell into coverage sometimes might lend itself to believe that there was some issues in communication on defense, Donkey, that you would have alluded to. So, yeah, I don't know if you brought that on them, but, perhaps maybe we should avoid those type of questions this week just to be safe.
You cannot blame the seer for seeing the future. You blame the participants for making it a reality. Okay?
Well,
that's all I'll say about that.
Okay. All right. We'll go with that then, Donkey. But
all right. Let's get to the Steelers versus the Browns.
Okay. All right.
Let's get to the Steelers versus the Browns. This game, of course, is at Cleveland. Steelers winning earlier this season. That means now the Steelers are 81-62-1 all time against the Browns. At Cleveland, we're 30-40-1. I'd like to get that a little closer to 500. We already told you the largest win was Cleveland by 51 in 1989, 51-0. Pittsburgh won 43-0 in 1999. Longest streak, Pittsburgh 12 games, Cleveland 8. The current streak, the Steelers by 2, with the last game coming September 18th, where the Steelers win 26-22 due to an impressive defensive touchdown performance going on out there. The Donk Nation Power Index can be used to predict game scores. It predicted the score to be 19.3 to 15.3 in favor of the Browns, and that is after calculating in the lost starting quarterback, which is worth 5 points. So the power index really liked the Browns, which when you look at the way the Browns have won this year, Gingy, and the way the Steelers have won, it's no coincidence that a number-based prediction algorithm likes the Brownies. But how are you feeling about this game? Just overall thoughts before we get into some cash or trash.
Donkey, it's going to want to be one of them classic AFC North snot knockers. You can throw the stats out the window. I don't care if teams are coming in 8-1, 1-8, 6-3, 5-18. Donkey, it don't matter. This is going to be one of those matchups. It's going to be one score. It's going to be close. It's going to be hard fought throughout the way. Both of these teams know each other, and it's not going to be very friendly.
No, probably not. I'd rather not throw the stats out the window, Gingy. There's a lot of snow outside my window, and my notebook is full of really useful information, in
Chill
my
them
opinion.
stats
So
down a
I'm
little
gonna
bit, Donkey.
I'm
Put them
gonna
right in the
hold it
stove
in my
banks. Chill
hand
them
if that's
right
okay.
down because again, Steelers unprecedented with the type of
Nine
run they're
straight
making here.
games. 9 straight games without outgaining the opponent. Yep.
And remaining at 6-3.
Win them ugly.
Beautiful.
All right, Gingy, some cash or trash for you. Let's start on the offense. Every drive last week when the offense was either in a tied position or losing the game, they went down and scored to take the lead. That was 3 drives that had happened, and all 3 they scored either a touchdown or field goal to take the lead. You put that into Tennessee the week before, they were 4 out of 5. This offense is starting to get that identity as a team that just does not let you hold on to a lead. They get done what they need to get done. Gingy, do you think that specific success will continue this week, where when the Steelers are either tied and or trailing over half the time, they will be able to score to take the lead and or tie the game?
Cash that in, Donkey. Cash that in. This offense is on a roll. This is the time of year you want to get hot. They're only going to get better from here. And really, if we neutralize the Browns' pass rush, we have a shot.
Fair. Now, Gingy, there's a reason I said earlier in the podcast, maybe 400 yards isn't the number. And the reason I say that is the Steelers are 4-0 when they get over 300 yards of offense this year, and 2-3 when they're under 300 yards of offense. So, Gingy, my question for you is going to be, cash or trash, the Steelers will gain over 300 yards against the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh. Donkey, I don't know. I'm gonna have to stay consistent here with my picks. I'm gonna cash that in. We'll see. It's gonna be tough. That Browns defense is tough, Donkey.
It certainly is, and we're going to allude to that right here. The Browns allow under 100 yards rushing per game. Remember, 55 is what the Steelers had in the first matchup. Pretty good front seven. Gingy, cash or trash, the Steelers will break 100 yards rushing, just like they have the previous few weeks. Maybe even get to 200, but that's not the question.
Ooh. Donkey, I am going to trash that in. All right. I think that the Browns are going to keep them close to but slightly under 100 yards. I think the sustained offense is going to be we still need to see the carries. You know where I'm at with that run game. That run game is still going to be the central focus point, right? But even if it's not producing at a super high level like last week, it had 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards, but yeah, but even if we're not producing at that super high level, it opens up options for Kenny in the air. It keeps that Browns defense from completely sledding downhill, spreads them out a little bit, and that is really the only thing that's going to put together a complete game.
Fair enough. The next one. Since the bye week, when Kenny Pickett has played the full game, the Steelers have scored at least 20 points every game. Gingy, cash or trash, the Steelers will score 20 or more points this week against Cleveland.
Cash it in because that's 20 or more. I got them at 20.
Ooh, very nice. And the last one for the offense, Gingy. The Steelers, when they win, either have a +2 turnover margin or the offense does not turn the ball over. So my question for you is, the Steelers will once again put up a clean sheet on offense in terms of turnovers against the Cleveland Browns. Which, ironically, last time we turned it over twice, but they turned it over 4 times.
I will cash that in. I think that we have the formula, Donkey, to be able to keep that rock on our side. And as long as Kenny isn't under duress, running around making poor choices, I think we'll be able to keep the clean sheet on the offensive side, keep that streak going.
Let's keep rotating. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Gingy, the Pittsburgh Steelers have allowed over 300 yards on defense every game this year. Cash or trash, the Steelers will hold the Browns under 300 yards.
Ooh.
Does
Donkey,
Gingy like Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Here's the question.
That is yes, and I was just gonna say that really depends specifically on whether you have any faith in that backup quarterback. And Donkey, what type of quarterback is he? How many years has he been in the league here?
He is a rookie that likes to run the ball a lot.
Okay, and Steelers traditionally, I know we might have been throwing some hijinks maybe once so far this season, but traditionally speaking,
A little bit.
some hijinks, yes, but traditionally speaking, perform at a very high level versus rookie quarterbacks. I will say cash it in on keeping them under 300 yards.
All right, I like that. Gingy, the Steelers' defense is allowed only 11 touchdowns and 27 red zone appearances. That's about 40%. That's good for fourth in the league. Red zone defense, a huge thing last week, huge thing the week before. Red zone turnovers, what the Steelers do. The Pittsburgh Steelers will not let the Cleveland Browns score a red zone touchdown this week. Cash or trash?
Ooh. So we're talking any scoring, big plays only.
They're allowed to kick field goals in the red zone.
Oh, okay. Well, Donkey, I think I'm gonna trash that. I think that there's gonna be a lot of bend, don't break, even inside that red zone, even sketchier than it has been. You know how these games go, Donkey.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be some red zone points from the Browns next week. Not too many, but a couple.
Fair enough. Jerome Ford has been the Browns' primary runner, has been running pretty good, about 4 yards a carry. Kareem Hunt has been a touchdown guy with 6 touchdowns since being signed after the injury to us for their stud running back. So now, my question for you is, do the Pittsburgh Steelers hold specifically the Cleveland Brown running backs under 100 yards rushing this week?
I do. Cash that in. Hold them under 100 yards rushing. Cam Hayward up front. Guys in the middle are going to have to step up, though, Donkey. Next man up mentality in the middle in the linebacker position.
Hell of a game last week.
Agreed.
6 tackles, 2 quarterback hurries, and a hit in there. Hell of a game for his first start.
Absolutely, going to need a lot more of that if we're gonna be able to. The Cleveland Browns are an excellent rushing team. That's really what they were always primarily built around that. They're kind of like the Ravens in that regard, trying to get Deshaun Watson to run that Lamar Jackson style team. But we're gonna hold them. We're gonna hold them.
Now, the Browns have some good weapons who are going to be healthy. Obviously, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, very good receiving the football. Mm-hmm. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR out there, said he now understands what's going on in the football game after 3 interceptions in his only other start. I think that's the only other time he played because P.J. Walker played the other games when Deshaun missed. Now, my question for you, Gingy. 3 interceptions the first game. Steelers, as you like to say, good against rookie quarterbacks. So cash or trash, DTR has 2 or more interceptions against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Cash that in. I think that's where some of the points are going to try to come from this game, right? We're going to be going up against a staunch Cleveland defense, so there might not be as many yards, but if we put ourselves in opportune positions already on their side of the field via those turnovers and opportunistic moments that Steelers like to take advantage of, yes, we're going to intercept them at least 2 times.
All right. To start this season, the Steelers had T.J. Watt take it to the house against the Browns. So my question's going to be, Gingy, splash plays, cannonballs, whatever you want to call them, seem to be a calling card of this team, especially in division games. So cash or trash, the Pittsburgh Steelers score at least 1 defensive and or special teams touchdown this week.
Ooh. Cash or trash. Donkey, that's a tough outcome to predict. I'm going to say trash, not because I don't think it's capable of them. I think there's going to be turnovers. But those pick sixes and pump block returns, they put you in great field position, but they don't often as much put you in the end zone. So I'm going to trash that.
Fair enough. So that concludes Cash or Trash. Gingy, let's talk a little more about the Browns here. I mean, there are some good weapons there. I think Wills might miss this game. They're right or left tackle. They're beat up. We're beat up. Got some new guys playing. Maybe this is a good game for Mark Robinson to go out there and get a start against a team that really won't be looking to throw the ball as much with a rookie. And as a run-based team, you get that guy who just seems instinctual at going downhill in there. Maybe that's a plus for us, Gingy. I know the outside linebacker thing in the grand schemes is a negative, but maybe in this microscope look of a single game, it could be a plus, right?
Hey, it gives these guys opportunity to get some snaps, get on the field, show what they're worth, and see how prepared they are to be able to step into those big positions because they got big shoes to fill, right? These guys that we put in there at that position, they've all stepped up this season. They were what we thought they were, right? Coming in, they've performed. So, we'd like to see some consistency at that position. Let's hope these guys can provide that.
Now, Cleveland has a stout pass rush. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Smith coming in has mixed really well with, Myles Garrett. They got some good interior pressure. But a lot of what makes their pass rush so great is their corners. Do you see the Steelers, George Pickens, who struggled with separation his whole career, Deontay Johnson, who's really good at it, but has struggled against the Browns traditionally, well, recently, I should say, not traditionally, but recently. Do you think these two receivers are going to be able to get that separation and give Pickett the window in order to throw the ball? And can Kenny hit in those windows?
Yeah, I sure hope so. Kenny has been shown to hit those windows in clutch moments. He's been shown to miss them a couple times too, but it's not as if he can't hit them. Okay. But you are right traditionally about separation. I think that the Browns have pretty good secondary, and if we do have a shot at separation, it's going to come through Deontay Johnson. But how about maybe an opportunity for straight line running from Calvin Austin? Let's see some of that speed again. Let's see some of that redemption from that offensive pass interference next week. Let's see if we can't get him in play action this week. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that would definitely be nice. Gingy, I know stats aren't necessarily the biggest thing in predicting outcomes, but the Steelers all year have gone lost 2 wins, lost 2 wins, lost 2 wins. That doesn't bode well for this game. Do you put any onus into the pattern the Steelers are playing, or is that just, that's a fluky thing?
I'll notice it, but Donkey, I don't think that really has any bearing on the outcome of the next game. If you ain't hyped for this, you've got nothing inside you. This is AFC North football. Both of these teams are relevant in the grand scheme of things right now. They've got similarities, some great pass rushers on defense. It's going to be great to see that, we don't get to see them go head to head, but the duel between TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, they're both, Myles is right on his heels for the sack league this season. Am I right?
I believe you are. I'm not full on that, but yes, there
might be
a
sack or a sack and a half behind. Here. Yeah, and they're both up there in the top end of it. That's going to be exciting.
Does this concern you at all, Gingy? If you count Jacoby Brissett, the year he was the backup to Deshaun Watson, but started because of the suspension, the Steelers the last 3 years when playing backup quarterbacks are only 3-3. That was 2-1 they were last year, with Huntley beating them once and losing once because Lamar Jackson doesn't like to play us, and you'll see that. Brissett would have beat us, so they'd be 2-1 last year. The year before, Huntley played us and went 0-1. The year before that, RG3 played us for Baltimore and lost. As you can see, Lamar hates to play the Steelers. And we lost to a guy named Ryan Finley in Cincinnati, which I'll talk about that next week.
No.
Yeah, Cincinnati backup. No. Here we go. The last time we played the Brownies with a backup, the Steelers lost. The Steelers only 3-3 against backup quarterbacks the last 3 years. Does that concern you?
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but listen, Jacoby Brissett is a stud. Okay, I think that he could start in some of these teams.
He's a top tier backup, bottom tier starter. Yeah, I won't argue.
Well, and he fit really well into the Browns as well as a backup. So, no, I'm not going to put too much weight on that. Any given Sunday, Donkey. Let's see how they match up this week against the Rook. He says he's got it all under control now after 3 ends, huh? Okay, guys, put the hands together. I got this. You think that's going to be the case?
Gingy, the only thing I'll say that bodes well for us is there was a bowl game, and let's just say UCLA quarterback at the time, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, decided to come over and talk some smack on the Pitt Panther sideline. Ask me how that game ended, because Dorian Thompson-Robinson wasn't talking smack at the end of that one.
Oh, no. So, keep that to himself this week.
Just gonna go ahead and put that out there. That I see DTR on the field, it makes me happy because it makes me remember that game. And if you've watched Pitt play this year, I need something to smile about. So that's gonna be it. Now, Gingy, is there anything else about this Browns game you'd like to cover, talk about, get into?
Let's hope to see some more organization on defense, and I really hope that. Donkey, I don't know. We'd have to check the tape. I'm fairly certain we talked about this last time, but Njoku always hurts the Steelers, is what I feel, Donkey. Always makes me nervous. Has big gashes up the middle, at least one. Let's try to limit that from happening this week, all right?
Fair. He definitely does. Gingy, I want to ask you your take on the hip drop tackle, as that is a point of talk before we predict the Steelers game. We already predicted the Ravens game. I put it out there in the Power Rankings one. But the hip drop tackle leads to the injury of Mark Andrews. How do you feel about it?
Oh, boy, Donkey. Football is a physical game. And I understand that the NFL is a business and they are trying to protect the longevity of their product, and that's why I'm not in the front office there. I don't make those decisions, right? But there's clearly two valid sides to the argument, right? Between the football and at its core what it is in terms of a physical game versus really trying to, like I said, protect the longevity of the players and of the product itself. So I don't know, Donkey. What do you think?
I don't think you should ban the tackle. I mean, once you do that, defenders are already at a huge disadvantage. I mean, you're not allowed to touch a quarterback. You might as well put flags on them. And honestly, it's leaning the way, and I don't remember if you heard this, but earlier this year, Quan Alexander said he had a talk with someone who was in the NFL league office, like a former friend who became like a part of it or something, former player type of deal. And he said, the guy said to him, don't be surprised if in 10 years you see us in flags. It honest to God kind of feels like it's moving that way. And with football now becoming an Olympic sport in the flag style, my God, Gingy, is it really going to happen is the question. See, I left Gingy speechless again. That's what I try to do here.
No,
I tried to just
my
leave
bad.
it there.
I was all I was rolling, Donkey, with that answer, and I was all muted up. But Donkey, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'm prepared to have that discussion yet. That might be a topic more suited for the off season.
My
Donkey,
entertainment value.
I'm not trying to get in that frame of mind on Browns week, baby. I'm trying to get this towel spinning, baby. We don't need to be talking about flag football right now. Save that shit for March.
All right, then. It's time to predict the mistake at the lake. I heard that, and I loved it. My wife knew exactly where I was talking about when I said it, which made me happy, because I've never said it before, so it made me happy when she knew where we were talking about. Laskers says he likes the Steelers 23-15 with Najee coming up big. Gingy, how'd you like this game to go?
I'm looking at, I gave a little bit of it away earlier. I like the Steelers at 20, Browns at 18. Snot knocker type of game. Donkey, and it's going to come down to one of them things, like it has been lately.
I like the Steelers 28. I like the Browns at 14. And I really don't know why, but my God, this feels like the kind of game where a hothead who likes to run his mouth shows up. George Pickens has got to be the guy, in my opinion. I've said it before and he didn't do snot. Looking at you like, what was it, last week? Bleh. Bleh. I'm picking you again for my X Factor. Don't let me down twice in a row. Gigi, who do you like as the game changer in this game?
Ooh, yes, X Factor. Let's go. Ooh, for me, it's got to be Deontay Johnson coming through, getting separation, making a threat in the pass game. Got to be Kenny's safety blanket.
A snot knocker of a football game, a defensive-based Pittsburgh Steelers with an offense that's struggling. So all three of the Donk Nation hosts come out and predict an offensive X Factor that is a skill position player. That's how we do it here. Gingy, give me a shout out.
Ooh, shout out abound. Looking across the NFL at a guy in a former Steelers, Josh Dobbs in Minnesota, walking in, putting that team right on the back on the right track. Shout out. That's pretty cool. I like that.
I'll tell you what, that McConnell guy over there as their head coach, that dude seems to understand how offense works in the NFL. That does not seem to be his problem. And good job for Josh Dobbs. I'd love to see it. But Gingy, my shout out has to stay at home. And you know I love people doing their first. Jaylen Warren with 100 yards rushing. My goodness gracious, was it beautiful. My goodness gracious, was it immaculate. And my goodness gracious, he should be announced as RB1 every week, Gingy.
Goodness gracious, Donkey. What? It was great to see.
I felt fat, spoiled, and sassy when I said it 3 times.
Well, you were.
I'm not going a whole show without saying that, by the way. From now on, every show, it's going to get mentioned somehow.
It's quite the Tomlinism. I would expect no less. What, just as George Pickens' comments was a pebble in his shoe. I don't know. Describe that. But said he had much bigger problems.
That is the biggest problem I have in the day a lot of the time, is if there's a damn pebble in my shoe. I'll be honest with you.
Quite annoying, but it's manageable.
Fair. No, only if you're willing to take it out, and it doesn't seem like Tomlin's willing to take it out, Gingy.
Oh, he loves it. He lives with rocks in his shoes, I think. He just enjoys the walk.
Fair enough. Gingy, any closing thoughts before we get to sending it off?
Ooh, Donkey, I can't even contain myself. No, I don't want to start ramping up right now, but you know it is AFC North football. It's been this rivalry was pretty one-sided for many years with Ben Roethlisberger, Donkey. And lately, over the last few years, since the Browns went and took the playoff win from the Steelers there, it has been very tense again, these games. And while complete dominance might be really something nice to see as a Steeler fan, it's also good to appreciate seeing this rivalry really competitive again with both of these teams relevant and in the picture.
No jinx, no jinx, no jinx. Kenny Pickett 2-0. No jinx, no jinx, no jinx. I'm letting you know I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey at Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose Donkey with Ginger's YouTube channel where you get all this fun content and you can stay fat, spoiled, and sassy along with me. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a follow. Let us know if there's anything you'd like to hear, anything else you'd like to do, what your favorite segment is, and if I should learn how to break my YouTube video into segments so you know what we're talking about at each point, and you can skip the stuff you don't like. I really suck at that, but if you like it, let me know, and I will try my best to learn it. Gingy, let them know.
Mutant Gingy in the house. We hanging out, talking football. Holy smoke, Steelers Nation, here we are. Browns week. Get them towels warm, get them spinning, get them waving. Here we go, Steelers.